Today's episode is brought to you by Real Estate Radio Experts. Now, if you don't know, radio is a secret weapon, and it's not so secret. Look, everybody doing 100, 200, 300, 400 transactions, they all have a radio initiative. Why don't you? Radio leads are super high quality. They're basically a referral. They're come list me leads. And if you think radio is expensive, think again. It's not. Radio is literally a cash machine. You put $1 in and get 3 back, get 5 back. Our clients are having success out of the gate. And listen, in addition to us getting you on the radio, you become part of our exclusive mastermind group, our referral network. I would love to help you out. And if you want to level up, here's what you do. Go to realestateradioexperts.com. Fill out the getting started page and or just send me a little email. Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first $1 million in real estate. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Before we get to the content today, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. I haven't done this for a while. I always love that you guys, leave us a rating and review. And I can't tell you how important that is for us to get up in the rankings on iTunes. And, at one point we were number 3 in the world for real estate agents and 73 in the world for business. And, here's the deal. When I changed the programming from 3 days a week to 2, our ranking completely went off the rails. But I just want to give a shout out to a few people on massive. And these I'm going to talk. What these are iTunes reviews. Okay, this is a necessary tool for me and should be for every entrepreneur. That's massive 45. Reviewer 74885. Oh, you don't have the thing. He says, "Hey man, thanks." Super Agents Live is inspiring. Sand Dollar. Thank you for the program. I appreciate it. Awesome podcast. Bravo. Why? This podcast is crucial and essential for agents. It's by Sophomore Broker. Thanks, Sophomore. Great show for anyone. GGBBDXBN. Excellent. Thanks, Toby. Josh Rogers, Florida. Thank you, Toby. Freaking awesome podcast. JCV Popeye. This is the best podcast I have found for agents, salespeople, and business owners. Incredible. B7 Mitch. Toby's podcast, Help Me Break Through by Dutaberta. This show is addictive. W.C. Cunningham. This show has literally turned my business around at Sold by Carl. Amazing content. Andrew Linus. I've been searching for something exactly like this. Thanks, Toby. I love it. TBS 7 Thrice. This show has taken my career and life to new levels. Jay Wilcher. Awesome, motivating, helpful, inspiring. Macy 7. My team and I are addicted to the show. We can't stop listening. At Joe at Realty Absolute. Thanks, Joe. Love it. I'm learning from the best. Dre 5116. Thanks for all your hard work. B Robarge. Toby's the real deal. JV Crum the third. I know that guy. I listen intently to the inspiration and message. Thank you, Toby. I Unada. Podcasts do not get any better than this. Jay Riley 3531. All right, that's enough. So listen, you guys, I would love you guys to go and give us a rating and review. I appreciate it. Now listen, here's what we do on today's show. Today's show, this guy wanted to be in the film industry and realized he couldn't control his own destiny. So he started from nothing, built his real estate business, and look, here's how this guy, he started with no list, and it's so important. We get into that, how he started from nothing, no list, and went out and built it. And, we talk a little bit about being in Hollywood and making it in Hollywood and the difference in real estate. We also talk about why you should be direct and purposeful with everything that you do. And he shares with us that growing a real estate business is a marathon. It's not a sprint. He tells new agents that this is a 30-year business, and he tells us how nobody wants to hear it. He also suggests that you should be an advocate and an advisor to your clients. So, hey, let's get to it. I hope you like it. Today on the show, I'm pretty excited about today's guest. Now, today's guest has got a team of 8, but with that team of 8, he'll put up about 2013 he did 92 million. This year he's going to close 2014 with about 110 million. Average sales price is about $1 million. This is the guy's high end. He's in Beverly Hills. I'm thrilled to welcome Tregg Rustad. Hey Tregg, thanks for taking the time out.
Thanks, Toby. Appreciate it.
So listen, Tregg, I've given the audience a brief overview of your what your business looks like. But before we get there, I want to know a little bit about you. I mean, Tregg Rustad, you have this Hollywood name with this Norwegian descent background. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm 35. I'm actually a transplant to LA, like a lot of people. I moved here when I was 22. I had just been married. My wife transferred to UCLA to go to school, and I thought I wanted to be in the film industry, in the production side. So I came down here. I spent some time in college working in the business, and quickly learned when I was down here, I wanted a business where I could actually control my destiny and be compensated for it. And I learned that wasn't in the film industry. And at 22, decided to jump into real estate in a new city with really a network of zero.
Wow.
So I'm different than many young agents who are successful, who kind of come into it with a family book of business or family referral source.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's an interesting journey.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. I want to know how you started from nothing and built a list. But before we get there, and look, I've had Josh Flagg on the show, and he's a guy that's successful, which I'm not taking anything away from him. But just like you said, he came with a family book of business, and he grew up there. I mean, a guy like that should be successful. A guy like you had you had to push the rock up the hill. But look, so you thought you wanted to be in film. Now I'm fascinated that you thought you wanted to be in the production side and not in front of the camera, man. I wanted to be in front of the camera.
Yeah, no, that wasn't for me. I've got an uncle who's a producer, so I spent some time in college on movie sets in the background. I thought it could be creative, fun, interesting, and it's like anything else. It's a business. There's not a lot of creativity,
right.
And there's a lot of people that want to do it, and they're willing to do it for nothing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people,
That's the tough part about it.
Yeah, the funny thing is, you see shows, and on TV or the movies, it's all razzle dazzle. But in reality, they're shooting Seinfeld in a giant empty warehouse, and there's no glitz or glam whatsoever. And I think people
very few people have that, right?
Right.
It's the top 5% of the actors. And maybe the top 5% of the production side has some creativity and something interesting behind it. But outside of that, it's really a blue collar tough job.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah. I mean, Hollywood is not fun unless you are that top 5% or that top 1%. Other than that,
and it really is a lottery ticket to get there.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I was working with people I thought were very talented that couldn't book shows. And then I would see some people that were booking shows and think, wow, I was shocked that they could. So,
right.
It really is a lottery ticket. And some people are okay putting kind of their life in the hands of luck, let's say. And, I just decided early on that I wanted to be in a position where I can kind of control my destiny and work hard and be rewarded for it.
Yeah, so look, I mean, so that's a great segue into getting into real estate because, just like, film or music or whatever, it takes a ton of hustle and you do need to get lucky. Now, with real estate, it takes a ton of hustle, but if you have that hustle, right, you can make your own luck. So now you moved to LA, you're 22 years old and you're married. Like, what was that about? I mean, that's a little bit unique that you got married so young.
Yeah, we did get married young. My wife transferred into UCLA, and I was working from show to show, and in between the shows, we'd have 2 or 3 months, and I was figuring out what I wanted to do, and started working for a gentleman in real estate, doing some marketing, and my background in college was in marketing.
Mm.
And after my third show here, I was frustrated with who I was working with and what was going on, and went and got my license and turned down the fourth show that was offered to me. And right after I got my license, sold a property to somebody I worked on a show with.
Got it.
That really got it started.
And you're like, holy smokes, this check is way more than I made maybe last year.
The funny side of that is, looking back, is we actually went through a period. My wife and I were on food stamps in LA.
Wow.
So it was, and we look at back at that as a really fun. The struggle was really fun together, coming to a new city and figuring it out.
So Tregg,
But, it was an interesting time.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit. So how long, what time was that? What time frame did you get your license?
I got it in 2002.
Okay.
And within months of getting my license, closed my first deal. So I was fortunate in that sense. But as soon as I knew I wanted to move into real estate, I started networking. The only people I really knew were people I'd worked on shows with. So I started letting them know I'm not coming back. I'm getting my license. If anyone knows anybody, I was a writer on one of the shows.
So okay, your background's in marketing, and you did the thing that you could do, right? You're on food stamps. You have no budget to go out and pay for print media or anything else. In terms of marketing, getting the word out, you started with talking with the few people that you knew. What else did you do from there?
Yeah. The other piece of this was there was an agent who I was helping part time, who had been in the business about 10 years. He was a lawyer before that, and his business was expanding. He was at a point where he couldn't keep up. So that also allowed me to step in and build up my business as well as support him and the leads. And as his business was expanding, he couldn't keep up with it. I was able to bring organization and energy and extra time in another body in to help with that. We today we still work together. I started back then at 22. We partnered a few years later, and here we are 13 years later, still partnered, and we've closed 1,200 transactions together and over $1 billion in sales. So
that's amazing.
It's been a good partnership.
Yeah, that is amazing. Now, it's curious to me. I mean, because $1 million is $1 million, whether you're in LA or Poughkeepsie, New York. And a lot of people would look. Here's what I've heard on the show many, many times. Most people feel comfortable selling the type of house that they grew up in or they currently own. Did you automatically jump up into this 7-figure, luxury market?
Part of the market moved up as prices moved up, but I have gone through 2 cycles already, so I've seen it kind of going up and down. To me, I never had a problem, even at 22, showing a $2 million house. There was no issue with me and concern that this is something I'm not familiar with. I mean, the basics of selling a house, it doesn't matter if it's a $100,000 house or a $15 million house. The basics are all the same. And the reality is, when you look at the business, our competition isn't really that hard. The bar to get in to sell real estate is quite low.
Yeah.
So I always had that kind of in the back of my mind as my motivator. That the bar is not high. There's not a lot of people that have come into this at 22 and wanted to take it serious like a profession. I mean, a lot of people get into this as their third or second career, and they work it part time. And I had a different mindset and kind of set of goals from the beginning, and just didn't look back.
So, okay, but again, I want to a little bit talk about the evolution. You have a background in marketing, right? You started in 2002, a great time. You went through a bust, right? 2002, 2007 was great. We have this big bust.
Yep.
Going back, I want to know how you did this. I want to know, just mechanically. So you started early on. You started telling people, "Hey, listen, I sell real estate. I can help you buy or sell your house." Talk to me about that transition of marketing. How did you scale it up and then scale it down, and now you're back to doing $100 million a year?
Yeah. Well, I was fortunate enough to get in the business, 5 years before we really hit our peak. So I was able to build my business during those 5 years. I mean, I had a lot of people in my office and colleagues that, if they started the business in 2005 or 2006, it was really tough for them by the time they got to 2007 and 2008.
Yeah.
So my business, my personal sphere was growing. The word of mouth, the referrals, that was growing. I'd figured out a lot of how I was marketing. All of that stuff has kind of worked out. So when the market, really slowed down here in LA, I had already, had my business continue to grow. So it was impacted by the economy. That was for sure. And it was a slower time, but by no means was it things shut down and there wasn't anything to sell. I mean, I was still quite busy during those few years. And it really is, for me, on marketing, what really came down to is being consistent and being very direct and purposeful with whatever you do. It's not one lunch, one phone call, one email is not likely going to generate you business. It's about doing those things over and over and over again, and really look at the business as it's a marathon, and it's not a sprint. I work with a lot of new agents now, helping them in my office, mentoring, and I tell them that this business is a 30-year business, and none of them want to hear it.
Right.
But it's really a 30-year business. It takes 10 years to learn the business, 10 years to expand and really become a pro in it, and then 10 years to see the benefits and make the real money. I'm starting my year 14 in this, and I'm trying to speed it up, but it's still I'm 6 years away from really being where I want to be for the last 10 years in this business.
Okay, so you said it takes 10 years to learn the business. Unpack that a little bit. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means, and I think the basics you learn much quicker than that.
Yeah.
But at least in our market, it's a very complicated business. We're dealing with a lot of people that have a lot of money and a lot of advisors and a lot of experts in their ear. So it's understanding and kind of really being how I look at this is being more than just a real estate agent. We position ourselves more as an advocate for a client, and a lot of that is born out of my partners and his background, and how I really learned this business is he had spent 10 years as a studio lawyer before getting into real estate. So we came to this partnership when we started really saying, okay, we want to run our real estate practice as a CPA or a doctor's office or a law firm would do, and really try to be an advocate for a client. Don't just be happy with the win-win result, because that rarely is possible anyways. And build up this business where you're seen as someone that really has your client in mind, and let's build long-term relationships with these clients and build a business that way. So it's really, that's been our mantra, and we bring honesty and fairness, but we're always working to protect our clients' best interest.
So that's sort of your unique selling proposition, is that you truly care about your client. Now you said a minute ago that you always strive for a win-win, but that's rarely achievable.
Yeah, and not all the agents on the other side of our transactions like us. It doesn't always happen, as we're trying to do the best job we can for our client. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But it builds lifelong supporters of our business. I mean, I have clients that I've sold in my 13 years. I've sold represented 5 transactions on both sides.
Wow.
And then those people pass my name along, and then that person passes my name along, and it leads to 90% of our business being repeat and referrals. And for me, those are the most rewarding clients to work with, because they come to us already with trust, and it's much easier to be successful with them.
Yeah, so that's amazing. 90% of your business is referrals. So you, I mean, like, what? How do you? Look, you can do a one-off transaction for me, and you can do a great job, whether you're buying a house for me or selling my house. And I know that you did all the right marketing. I know that at the negotiation table you were fighting for me. But I'm going to forget about you, 3 months from now, because we all have busy lives. What are some of the? I mean, how do you get that kind of 90% referral number? You have to do something, special to stay top of mind. And
well, I don't think I do anything that other agents aren't doing. I mean, it's about being consistent, keeping up with email blast, calling the sphere of influence, staying in touch, sending thank you notes. If someone sends me a referral or a lead, even if it's a tepid lease, I'm going to send them a handwritten note and thank them for thinking of me, and tell them, my business is built around people like you, and sending referrals to me, and I appreciate it. I'm going to take care of them like I took care of you. Even if it doesn't go anywhere, I'm sending them that note. And if it does go somewhere, I'm going to send them a gift. There's postcards, social media. I mean, it's all kind of the basics. But I think it's being consistent and really being genuine, and letting them know that I really appreciate it. This is how I put food on my table.
Right.
This is important. This isn't just this is more than they may even think it is. By referring to me, it means a whole lot. And I think some people are referrers and some people aren't. I don't think some people just naturally can pass your name along, and people ask them for advice. And and if you can find who those people are and really stay in touch with them, you can get 10 referrals from a happy client pretty easily.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you're touching on a few important things. One is lifetime value, and I want to talk to you about that in a second. But the other thing, in terms of some people are referrers and some people are not. Now, for me, I'm careful about referring people because that's on me. Right? If I say, "Hey, Tregg's a great guy," and you end up having a bad week, and you become an extension of me, and I have to assume, with the kind of people that you're dealing with, let's say that I know, I'm just going to Michael Jordan for I'm sure you know a ton of stars.
Sure.
You know a ton of film. I'm going to be very careful if to say, "Hey, use Tregg."
Well, I think if someone's on the fence about you, they're not going to refer you. I mean, I have that. People ask me all the time, do you have a painter? Do you have a plumber?
Right.
I have certain vendors that I have no doubt will do a great job and take care of my clients, and I have no problem referring those people.
Got it.
But if someone comes to me and asks for something and I don't have somebody I trust, I'm going to tell them, you know what, honestly, I don't have somebody right now that I feel comfortable. The last person that did this I referred let me down, and I don't want to pass their name along.
Got it.
So I think you've got to be they have to have confidence in you in order to do that. Otherwise, they're not going to refer you, and it is because it is an extension. But to that point as well, I think it does validate clients' their own decision when they can turn around and say, you know what, I have a great realtor. His name's Tregg. Give him a call. What they also like for that person to call me, be happy with me, and then to call them back and say, thank you so much. I mean, it helps kind of validate their decision that they used the right person. So I think people really do want to refer. It comes naturally to people, but they have to be confident in that as well. They don't want it to come back and say, man, I called him, he never called me back, or he wasn't in touch, and
because that's for sure.
To grind your business to a halt. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that's for sure a call you're going to get, right? If you refer somebody, they call them, and they don't. The person that you referred doesn't call back. Like the next phone call I'm going to make is, "Hey, Tregg, man, what's up with your guy?" Right? He didn't call me back. So I get it. So look, let me tell you a story, and I want to know. I was in college. I used to paint houses. I was painting this person's house, and I had done a few jobs for her. And she asked, she's going to throw a party for her husband. She asked me this weird question. She said, "Hey, Toby, do you know anybody that plays music? I'm having a party for my husband." And I said, "No, I don't." Mm-hmm. 2 days later, she asked me the same question again, and she said, "Hey, Toby, do you know a DJ?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, my roommate's a DJ." And that I learned something from that interaction. You have to ask people you have to be very specific to get a good answer. So that's a setup for this. Do you ask your people to refer you? How often do you say, "Hey, John, please refer me," or do you? Yeah.
No, I think in the first few years, it was difficult for me to do that. It didn't feel natural. It felt too salesy, too pushy. And then I kind of had it, and it's kind of through coaching and more experience and kind of more confidence in the business. So you realize that it's actually, I think, more honest to ask people for a referral than just to beat around the bush.
Yeah.
And if you're staying in touch with clients on the phone, if you're calling to see how the house is going, if they need anything, they're not going to be surprised or put off by, "Hey, by the way, do you know anybody who's looking to sell their house?"
Right.
They're not, and I've actually had clients tell me that. I've been at dinner with a client and saying, "Oh, this is early on in my career," but saying, I'm trying to expand my business, and he said, "Well, why don't you ask me for it? I'd have no problem if you asked me." And that was eye opening. That one particular client stands out because I think it could be an honest request, and there's people we shouldn't be afraid to ask. If someone's happy with us, they'd be happy to think, "Well, let me see. Do I know anybody?" "Well, not right now, but let me know." And you know what? In a week later, you might get a lead.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And look, people, I think in general, man, people, if you have done a great job for Johnny, Johnny wants to help you. So, but you need to ask. Now, in the transaction, is there a time in the transaction that you will ask for that referral?
No, usually during the transaction, I'm not.
Okay.
And maybe I should be. That's an interesting point. But it's usually when we close, I'm going to have a conversation with the client and say, remember, I'm not going anywhere. If anything comes up with his house, if you need anything, don't hesitate to call. I'm going to be here. Next month I'm going to be here in 10 years. And also when you need something else, to sell the house, you want to buy something else, or your friends let me know. And that's really where I guess the first time I ask for it. And that kind of stems out of really also for them to stay in touch with me. I mean, if they have something that comes up after they're moving in the house, I want to know about it. I want to try to resolve it for them.
Yeah, well, and again, I think for you could say, hey, listen, I know this is your primary house, but when you want to get that chalet up in Big Bear, let me know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people might not know. I mean, people may not know that. Hey, you can represent them in L.A. as well as our local mountains here. But I'm in San Diego. I don't know if you knew that. So,
no, I didn't.
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you this. Here's what I hear on the show in terms of at the point when the best time to ask for referrals or that testimonial is usually if you're representing a seller, when they get that offer that they're going to be happy with. Like, hey, here's your offer for $1.2 million, and they're all excited and they're signing it, and that's when you ask, hey, do you know anybody else that I can help and do this great job for? Or similarly with a buyer, right? Hey, I just got this offer accepted. Hey, do you know? Anyhow, so that's what I hear on the show. So maybe you can use that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
So for you, I want to talk about lifetime value, and I think and lifetime value. First, are you familiar with that term? I don't want to ambush you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most realtors don't know what lifetime value is. Most realtors don't track that lifetime value. And basically, for everybody who do you want to explain it for the audience, or I can if you don't want to.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So lifetime value is, you spend a bunch of marketing dollars, a bunch of energy to get a client A. You do a good job for them, and that one client that you a minute ago said I've done 5 transactions with them. Well, that client was not worth that $30,000 of commission for deal 1. He was worth $150,000 commission because you did 5 deals with them. And the point of that is, I think most agents, when they think about marketing or they think about their clients, they don't see that person as multiple, that you can own them for life or represent them for life. When you have a client, do you see that? Do you?
Absolutely. I mean, I've learned not to take any lead for granted. I mean, even if it's a friend of mine that says, "Hey, I'm thinking of selling my house," I'm gonna treat that friend like I would a sign call. I mean, I'm gonna get. Right. I do a pre-listing book. I want to prepare a pre-listing book. Listen, they know about me, but they may not know all the things I do to market. They may not know about other properties I've sold right up and down the street. So I'm going to treat them just like I would someone who doesn't know me. Obviously, I'm more friendly and I have a different relationship going into it. But I'm going to set a listing meeting with them. I'm going to drop off my listing book ahead of time. I'm going to come with all my information prepared like I would for someone who doesn't know me. And it starts at day one, and then those people realize, wow, okay, I've known him as a friend. I knew he was successful, but this is why. And now I may turn that friend into even more of an advocate for me.
Right.
You want to make sure I get the listing. There's a lot of competition in this business, especially in this part of town.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never know who they bump into, or it's a neighbor, or a cousin of a cousin. I mean, there's a lot of people. Once someone finds out someone's interested in selling, that kind of come out of the woodwork trying to get listings. So, right, okay. So, I mean, I agree with you. A place like Beverly Hills or Los Angeles in general, it's very competitive there. And the market that you're in terms of the price range you're in, is very competitive. How does somebody like you, Tregg, other than being referred, if someone wants to kind of model you or build a business like you, how do they go out and meet somebody that has a net worth of $10 million, right, and drives a Ferrari and they make movies? I mean, is there a way to meet those people, to get them in your funnel, to develop a relationship with? I mean, it's the tried and true. I mean, a lot of people have success at open houses. I haven't myself, frankly. I sit them mostly sit them for my sellers, not to try to pick up buyers. To me, it's an uncomfortable uncomfortable process for me to be trying. I know these people are walking into 10 different houses and everyone's trying to get their business.
Right.
So I have much more of a low key kind of philosophy about the open houses. But I know I have a lot of new agents that sit open houses and are successful in picking up clients that way. And I have over the years. I picked them up, but they're almost people who come in and then they end up seeking me. We meet and talk. I'm helpful, obviously, and show the house, and they kind of seek me and call me after, and we build relationships. And I've had those relationships for many years with some of the clients. But the best way, I mean, really, the hardest part is getting those first few deals. I really believe that business brings business. So, if you get a listing, you should be able to pick up and meet other buyers off of that just from people calling on it. It may not be for that house, and most of the time it's not. But you're going to have opportunities to meet new people and be more proactive and go sell them something else if the house isn't a fit. If you're listing that listing should get you another listing.
Right.
I mean, it really can work that way if you do it's really all the basic stuff, letting people know about open houses ahead of time, letting the sellers know. We often mail the houses nearby 3 times during a listing.
Well, hold on. I want to talk about that. I don't. Yeah. Hold it. But I want to go back for a second.
Okay.
Because not everybody in real estate is, if you take your disc score, not everybody's like, a high D, high I. And what I want to dig into a little bit here is, even though if you're not a high I or super gregarious, you can be super successful. Now, for you earlier you said, I don't want to be too salesy. And then when you were talking about open houses, you said, well, that's a little bit uncomfortable for me. So when it comes to sales, are you somewhat a little bit, do you have this uncomfortability tinge to you when it comes to actually being a salesperson? The first few years, it actually was, I felt like I was like doing all I could to not be a salesman. It really was. It was, and I come from a family of salesmen. I mean, my dad's got 3 brothers, and including my dad, they're all salesmen. And growing up, I that's all I heard, and I really did not want to be a salesman. And then it's funny looking back now and where I am. But I think I finally came to grips with, okay, I am in sales, but what allows me to be more natural and not come across, I think, as the stereotypical salesman is really that position of I'm more of an advocate for my client than a salesman. Right.
I'm not attached to the outcome, and that's important for me. If the client doesn't buy the house and they don't want to buy the house, that's perfectly fine with me. I'm not one deal is not going to rattle me and throw me into a tailspin. and I think a lot of agents need to close that next deal, and their clients can smell that, and it really works against them. So it's really I do try not to be, and it's not natural for me to be a salesman, but I still really try not to be one. I mean, I really try to engage and be an advocate with my clients, and really the reality is that the house is going to sell itself. If they want the house, then it's going to sell itself. There's a lot of stuff I got to navigate for them. I want to negotiate the best deal I can for them. But I'm not trying to convince them to to buy my soda product or something else.
Right. No. Look, I can appreciate that. I'm sure a lot of people in the audience can appreciate that. And I think that what you just did for a lot of people, I think is going to be really helpful. The notion of, hey, I'm an advocate, and I'm gonna, I want to I want to help them. I'm an advocate. But I do think though, at some point, right, you need to do sales, and here's you go into a house. And they're interested in listing it with you, right? Number one, you have to sell yourself. Say, hey, listen, I'm gonna do the best job possible. But then when they say, hey, listen, Tregg, I think it's worth 2.2, but man, the market is 2 million. Like that's got to be an uncomfortable situation because you have to influence them to or bring them back into reality. How have you handled that?
Yeah, and those conversations don't make me uncomfortable at all. I'm very comfortable being upfront and honest with clients. So, when it comes to pricing, I think there's ways that things can be worded and explained to kind of take any of that uncomfortableness away. I mean, really, the facts are the facts, and we're looking at comps. I bring comps. I bring a lot of analysis. In a lot of the pockets where I work, I follow stats over the last 10 years, and I bring those. So I think it really comes out of knowledge, market knowledge. Hopefully there's some trust if this is referral. They're going to trust me up front. And then ultimately I explain that it's not the seller, it's not me, it's not the buyer's agent. We don't set the value of the house. It's the buyers that do. And I'm going to do the marketing. I'm going to make sure everybody knows about it. I'm going to push the price as high as I can. But the reality of it is the buyers are the ones that are going to be out there looking at 20, 30 houses. They're going to write the offers, and they're going to get to a point where they stop.
Right.
And then that's the value of your house. And if I can push it a bit further, I will. And that's the part of the job I really enjoy. That if we overprice it, that's my biggest marketing tool. I can run a full-page ad for your house on the front of the LA Times every single weekend. But if you're overpriced, it's not going to sell.
Right.
That's my biggest marketing. I mean, we do a lot of things, but that is the biggest marketing tool. And not everybody gets it, and so we say let's give it a shot. We'll still do everything. We'll give it a shot. But you know what? If the market's busy like it is now, we're going to know in 30 days. And in 30 days, I'm going to be following up with them and letting them know if it doesn't sell that here's all the stuff I have done, here's all the marketing I have done, and what's holding us back is my biggest marketing tool. That's the price. If you really want to sell, let's make an adjustment.
Well, I'm glad you walked through that because I was going to ask if you take that listing. Now you will take that listing, and
not if it's crazy.
Okay.
I mean, I'd rather be the second listing agent on it if it's going to be a crazy price. But I think if we're talking listing a house 10% over, listen, the last 2 years those houses were selling.
Right.
We'll see where it goes in the next couple of years. And in 2008, 2009, 2010, those houses definitely weren't selling.
Oh yeah.
But so it depends on the market. I think it depends on if I think they're receptive to a price reduction. If I think their motivation is there to sell ultimately. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it if I'm going to take a listing I think is overpriced. But
got it.
But I will take them if other things make sense.
So for the newer guy out there, Tregg, who what you said earlier, you said, hey, getting those first few deals under your belt, it makes a big difference. Now, would you suggest, somebody's trying to break into a market and a farm, they want to break into an area, and they have a listing, but it's overpriced, right? Maybe it's 15%, maybe it's 20%. Is there value in taking that and putting that sign in the ground and is there any value in that, or should people just walk away from that and be the second guy?
Well, I think for someone who doesn't have business, it's going to be a marketing tool for them to promote themselves. It doesn't do the seller any justice, but for starting out, to be able to set the open houses, to meet people,
right,
to do an email blast to their sphere, to let people know they have something listed, to be in the game, to keep busy, keep their mental state that they're busy in the business.
Right.
I think there's a lot of value in that.
Okay.
And I've heard stories of people breaking into this business. This is years ago. But listing their own houses in a particular neighborhood and pushing the price so high that it wouldn't sell, but just because they needed something to get started.
That is interesting. That is super interesting. I would have never thought of that. That is, I got to put some thought into that. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think I would do it on my house, but I've heard it done, many times.
So, and look, and here's the thing. Here's what you said earlier, and this is that was again a perfect segue into what you said was when you get a listing, that should lead to another. So, when you get a listing, and I guess maybe if you even could try it on your house, what are some of the things that you do to get another listing out of that listing?
So, I think if you have time and you're interested in it, there's no reason why you shouldn't door knock around it and invite all the sellers, or the potential sellers, all the owners around it. If you don't, or you're not comfortable doing the door knocking, then I think at a minimum you could mail. We typically mail the closest 200, 250 homes, unless it's in a farm that we're in. Then we mail the whole farm. But we want let everybody know it's listed, and then once we're in escrow, we send another notice letting everybody know it's in escrow, and after it's closed, they get another notice saying it closed. So they get three updates from us, and it's hopefully within a couple of months, and those get the best results out of any marketing piece we do. We always get calls off of them. What did it sell for? How many offers did you have? What do you think my house is worth? And it's a really great way to generate additional listings nearby.
Especially if you could send that mailer and say, hey, listen, I sold it in under contract in 20 days and closed for 10% more or $20,000 more than listed. Yeah, and once it sells or even once it's in escrow, we definitely highlight the keys to the sale. If we were fortunate to have multiple offers and sell it over, we're going to put that in there. So
and the first one, we're going to get it out early enough that they can come and take a look at the open house. So then if someone's interested off that first letter, we might meet them as well, and they can come see the house and at least have a face and a handshake before we hopefully sell that house too.
Got it. Okay, those are awesome tips, man. So when on the mailer, I want to dig into the mailer just a little bit more. What is it? Do you mail a postcard? Do you mail something in an envelope? What does that mailer look like?
It varies. If we're doing a large mailing, it's going to be a postcard. Okay. If we're doing a smaller mailing, like we have some very high-end condos that I do a lot of business in here in town, and there may be 200 units in the building. We got an area here called the Wilshire Corridor, which is about 34 high-rises, ranging on the low end of 500,000, on the high end up to 15 million. For some penthouses, and they average probably about $1.5 million, $1.6 million for most of these condos. So we always mail those particular buildings these letters as well. And if we're doing the entire corridor, which is all the buildings, it's going to be a postcard. If we're doing just the building, we'll do a more of a personalized letter.
Okay, so personalized letter. So it's not. It doesn't say to current resident. It says Tregg Rustad. 123 Main Street.
Yeah, I mean it's they should recognize our logos from all our mailing, and we bring those logos over to our envelopes as well, and the inside's not specifically personalized, but it's specific that it's only talking about their building. Which they're always interested in. Okay. Those are the closest comps you can get. So versus a postcard where we may be sending it to 3,000 people, it's going to be a little more generic than a letter that we'd send just to 200 units in a building, or if it's a particular neighborhood, the 200 closest houses around it.
Okay, and on that postcard, Tregg, if you're going to send that, and it's a just listed postcard, what's on the front? Do you have a picture of the property with your logo, or do you have a picture of like some famous, Rodeo Drive, or? No. It's going to be about the property. So, okay. This is also to promote the property and sell the property. So, we're going to feature a photo or two, depending on the size that we're going to put on there, a description, a URL. So if people want to see more photos, they could go and look at all 30 or 40 of them. If it's open, then we'll invite people to the open house. So it's going to be mostly about the property, and of course, we'll have information on us. So, okay, on that URL, this turned out to be a really good interview, by the way, Tregg. So on that URL, you send the postcard, and you have, again, 123 Main Street, whatever. Do you just have property information, or do you have anything on there where you can get their, do you ask for their email address? Do you try to get them in your funnel after they visit that unique? Good
question. No, we don't. And I've thought about doing that, but it's kind of like we get so many, Zillow leads and Trulia leads that I think most of these people are working with other agents, and I have, fortunately, I've been busy enough that I'm not needing to chase down all these kind of what I call cold or very lukewarm leads. So we haven't been doing much capturing. It might be interesting to see if in the future if we did that, especially specifically in some of our farm areas, because our websites that we refer people to on our print material does have a lot of information about how we specialize in the area, in addition to this info on the particular property.
Right.
So, but it's really more of here's the info, and they can contact us if they want. And we do get contacted from buyers looking. We just had one last week in one of these high rises where another agent listed a unit in the building. They went, looked at the unit, spoke with that agent. For whatever reason, decided not to have the listing agent help them. Called us. We had never met with them. They got our postcards. Called us and said, "Hey, there's a unit in our building we want to buy." Well, I've got inspections there this afternoon. So it's a little more of kind of put it out there, put a high quality product, stay in touch with them, and then let them call us when they want to do business.
Interesting. This is a lot like your personality. When it comes to open houses, right? It's so weird.
Yeah.
You're doing all this marketing stuff. But my sense is you're very much an attraction guy, right? You want to attract people. You don't chase them down. You're not a chaser, right? You're an attractor guy. Anyhow,
but you got to follow up. I have to follow up.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not here to chase the a lead that comes out of the blue that is from some source I've never heard of. I'm not going to let it go. I'll probably spend a minute responding or answering questions, but I'm not going to chase them down and try to get an appointment in my office and meet with them. Sometimes I'll pass those along to other people on our team, and they will do that. But it really is, I mean, it's the key is in the follow up in these meetings. I mean, I get a lot of calls, and it's about staying in front of these people. When they call me and they ask questions, they might say, "Oh, I'm thinking of selling, but we might rent for another year." Well, in that case, I'm obviously going to put in my database, and they're going to get my email blasts and my news updates and things like that. And I'll mark my calendar if they say, in 6 months if tenant moves, I'm going to call them in 6 months. So it is, to that sense, the key is in the follow up.
Yeah.
But not in chasing. To me, I think the chasing doesn't work.
Yeah, well, look, and I think,
and it's not comfortable for me.
Yeah, right. That's right. It's not comfortable for you, and I'm, you have a high level product, and you're building this very high level brand. I mean, Porsche doesn't necessarily chase you down, but the Mazda people do.
Right.
So earlier,
and it's funny. I've got just back to that with my follow up because it's been even that has sometimes been. It's hard to make yourself follow up with clients. I mean, it is for me. I imagine for most people it is. But I've got this. I have another team of the competition in town, and I know they're pit bulls. And it's funny because when I need to motivate myself, I think, well, what would they be doing? Well, they've probably already called 10 times.
Right.
All right, time for me to call. And I've taken listings where they've also gone in on the meeting, and I've had my seller say, "Can you please call them and tell them to stop calling me?" I mean, they just won't stop. So they go a little too far away, thinking they kind of rub people the wrong way. But listen, I know there's a middle ground probably between both of us that would be the most successful, and that's what I try to get. I got to have follow up. I got to stay in front of them.
Yeah, I'll tell you something that I've just I do the radio thing, and something that I have realized it's been working. And here's what it is. So I can follow up or meet somebody through email, right? Because I want to be efficient, or I can call them. But where I've gotten my most traction is actually having my assistant call them, say, "Hey, I'm Toby Salgado's personal assistant, and he would like to make an appointment with you." And for some weird reason, like that, using a mediator for follow up for me has been more helpful than me doing it myself. And I don't know what that is, but I'm seeing that she can get more traction than I can. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So okay, earlier,
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and we have to start wrapping up. So I appreciate you sticking with me. But real quick, so you get a ton of leads from Zillow and Trulia, but what else is working in your business today?
Well, the business we're trying to generate that's not referral based is really farm based, and there are some geographical areas we focus in, and a lot of that is we do postcards, and we do a high quality postcard. We're doing it twice a month. It's consistent. We throw in other stuff, new notepads, and we'll have flyer walkers drop things, and we try to do some things to keep it, a little bit interesting. But really, it's just a tried and true. It's being consistent. I mean, we kept it up during the last peak, during the last drop, and now. So people have seen us for years, and it's and doing it twice a month is more than most. And we went through a phase where we were doing it 3 times a month.
Wow!
Every 10 days we were mailing a card. So it's been quite successful for us.
Wow, I love it, man. I love it. All right, listen, I'm going to ask you. I always have the 2 same questions at the end I ask everybody, but
Okay.
before we get there, I want to ask you a crazy question. I think we've covered most stuff, but just in case I haven't gotten something that you want to get out there, here's kind of a crazy question. Tregg, what's one thing or something I didn't ask you, but I should have asked you?
Oh, good question, Toby. I think there's something that I do that's a little different than what a lot of people. I mean, in a small little piece. But before our interview today, I was thinking, what is it? What else could I add that somebody listening might pick up and might not think about? And something came to mind that I do a lot, and I was talking to another agent about it, and they hadn't really thought about it either. And it's when I'm representing a listing. What I find is a lot of the buyer's agents are inexperienced. So what happens is we get into a situation during escrow where something gets complicated, and the buyer's agent doesn't know how to navigate through it to get the deal closed, and often that's when deals fall apart. So what I really at that time, and I've saved many escrows doing this, is really try to work with that buyer's agent and figure out what the issue is. If that buyer's agent will be honest and really explain what the issue is, come to a solution, get a solution done, and then spoon feed it to the buyer's agent and let them go back to their buyer and present it as if it's their own idea and kind of get the credit for it.
Yeah.
And keep the deal together. And I'm doing that on dozens of deals a year, and it's kind of fun for me to see it get wrapped together. And the buyer's agents obviously love it because they thought the deal was dead.
Right.
And then they get a little credit in their clients. So it kind of allows a deal to close. And for me, it's anytime we go back on the market, unless I've got a better option in my pocket, we're not likely to end up at the same place. It's just the reality of real estate. So for me, it also really helps me feel like I'm really going to bat and representing my sellers in a really good way.
Yeah, I love it. There you go. There's a win-win for you. So, Tregg,
I guess so.
Last 2 questions. So the first one is this. I'm very curious about what a guy like you reads. So I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25. What book should I go buy today?
High Trust Selling. That was a book that stands out that I really appreciated and took a lot of little things out of. Outside of that, I've got a 9-month-old, so I haven't read much recently.
I hear you, man. I have 3
I
kids.
read a lot of baby books. recently. I could name a dozen for you right now.
Oh, that's funny, man. I try to read.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, with my first kid, I tried to read The Expectant Father, or I couldn't get through those books, man. I just couldn't do it. I'd rather read, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill than, The Expecting Father. But, that.
Yeah, well, I jumped all in. I knew nothing about raising kids, so I definitely jumped all in and tried to figure it out.
So
and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for everybody in the audience, if you haven't read that book that Tregg is recommending, High Trust Selling by Todd Duncan, you can get a free copy using our link, audibletrial.com/superagentslive. Now, my last question for you, Tregg, is this: you're a very successful guy, and you have a very successful marriage. You're a father. Do you feel that you have a personal habit that has contributed to your success?
A personal habit. I think it's sticking to it and being consistent. I think that I've always been that way. I mean, I make decisions. I look at the facts and make decisions, and I execute on them. And I've done that. I mean, that's the way I was married early. I made the decision. I moved forward with and executed on. I mean, I've kind of done that with my whole life.
Yeah.
And I think that proves to be successful in this business because I'm not getting stuck on the execution. I think a lot of people do. They overthink it. They get bogged down in it. And to me, that's something I have no problem doing. I have no problem setting up systems to keep organized and to allow me to do those while still working in the business.
I agree, man. I could not agree with you more. And too many times I think people will look at an issue or a problem or whatever it is. They will make a decision. They will execute. The problem is they have no stick-to-itiveness, right? The next shiny object that comes down the road, they're like, oh, that might be better. And they drop it. You know what? You wait, a year down the road, you're like, man, nothing's working. Well, you know why nothing's working? Because you only did it for 2 months. Tregg.
2 months is nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, man, thanks for coming on the show. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with you. I'm sure my audience loved it now. I always ask my audience, I said, look, if you get something out of my interviews, especially with yours today, you took your time out to share with us. So I asked them to tell you thank you. I'm going to tell you thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. Where can people find you?
My website's my name, TreggRustad.com, TreggRustad.com.
Awesome. And look, everybody, all that stuff's going to be on the show notes. Hey, Tregg, let's keep in touch, man.
All right. Thanks, Toby.
See you, bud.
Bye-bye.
Let's go. Yeah.